Hello. Welcome, everyone.
Hello, hello.
We are so excited to be cooking with you guys today. We're going to be making a truffle tortellini, which is one of Chef Tyler's absolute favorite recipes.
The tortellinis and brodo.
We're also going to be able to enjoy a little bit of my favorite style of cocktail. Sarah put together an awesome melon bellini to be able to make with you guys today. And so we are so excited.
For this recipe, it's all in the mise en place. It's all in the prep, okay? There's very little cooking that's actually going on, except for blanching the pasta. So from the top, in our mise en place, we have our lovely cutting board. Next, we have our pastry brush, which if you don't have a pastry brush, that's fine. Personally, I don't even like using a pastry brush for this. I use my finger. After that, we have our baking sheet, okay? Baking sheet or
like a tray.
A little tray. And honestly,
or a big platter.
After that, we need our slotted spoon, or we have this lovely spider. Then we need a 2-ounce ladle, which, to be completely honest, the number of ounces the ladle holds does not matter at all.
Any ounce ladle.
After that, we need our lovely knife.
Excellent.
And then we need a 1/4 measuring cup, okay? After that, we need our 2-quart pot. So we're going to use, so this is going to be our brodo pot, okay? After that, we need a strainer. We're going to use this to strain the brodo once it's cooked. Then we have our large pot over here.
And I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to fill this up with water and get it on low heat, okay?
After that, we need our fork. We also need a medium mixing bowl for our flours. We'll need a cloth napkin or a tea towel, right? And we need this for later on when we make the pasta. After that, we need a peeler and or truffle shaver. And then we need ourselves a rolling pin. So that is all of our mise en place.
So I'm going to dig into our ingredients here in no particular order. First and foremost, you got your broth. And then you have your egg mixture. And then you have your ricotta farce. And then you're going to have your semolina and 00 flour. And then we got our Bolognese truffle salt. Then we got our eggs for the egg wash.
Nice.
We got our Bellini cocktail mixer, which after we make these bellinis, we're going to use this container to cut the tortellinis.
Yep, that's also our pasta cutter.
Yep. And then you'll have your little snack pack of brodo ingredients here, which I'll go into first with you guys. And then you got your Parmesan. And last but not least, we got the black truffle carpaccio.
All right. So we got all of our ingredients, all of our mise en place. All we got to do next is we're going to make our cocktail and then our brodo.
Okay, so hello everyone. I thought it would be kind of fun sticking with our Italian theme this week if we had an Italian cocktail. And we did Negronis before, so that was a little heavy and boozy, so I want to do something a little bit lighter with this class. So it is the perfect time of year for melons, so we did a cantaloupe and lemon Bellini cocktail mix. So you can do this 2 ways, right? We can add 1 ounce and then top the rest with sparkling, or you can do 2 ounces per glass and then just have 1 round. And if you do 1 per, then you can kind of save yourself. And it's still going to be super, super flavorful, but then that'll set you up for the next round, which we're going to need because pasta making is hard work, right? So I'm just going to add a little bit here. Amazing. Top with sparkling. And away we go.
Nice.
Cheers, guys.
The Bellini.
The Bellini.
That's a Bellini.
So we're going to throw the instructions on the screen and we're going to knock out this brodo.
Oh, man.
So simple. And so for this brodo, we're going to go easiest to hardest, okay? So the easiest thing to do is to take the broth and put it into the pot.
Yep.
So I'm going to cut my broth open here. We're going to go all into the pot and we're going to go ahead and get it onto medium heat. And then next, in what I'm calling the snack pack, I'm going to take the shallots out. And what's so cool about Parmesan rind is it adds just an incredible flavor to this broth. And what it does is allows you to add a lot of flavor without it getting super cloudy. And so I have my pieces here. I'm just going to go ahead and cut them into about 1-inch pieces. And so that's going in.
Yeah.
And then
and so we want to use all that broth, and we're going to add these flavoring elements to it to go from that broth or stock to be in this beautiful brodo.
And now we got our thyme and peppercorns. So we're going all in with the thyme and peppercorns. In that smaller bag, you have the dried mushrooms. So we're going to go ahead and pop all those dried mushrooms into our broth. And that leaves us with the shallots and garlic. And we're going to WWE style smash this garlic. And it's going in with the shirt or the skin of the garlic. Okay. And now we just have the shallot. So I'm going to cut the top off of the shallot and then cut it in half. And then we're going to take that kind of tougher skin off of it. And we're just going to large dice this shallot, okay? We just want the flavor of it. We don't really need to chop up fine.
So in this pot, in this smaller 2-quart pot, Jason has the chicken stock, right? The broth.
So all the broth you got, put into a pot.
Yep.
And then once you put that into the pot, then you're going to add the peppercorns, the thyme, the Parmesan rind, the diced shallot, and then the smashed garlic.
Yep.
And then once you get all that into a pot, we're going to bring it up to about medium, right?
Yep.
We want little bubbles. We want to kind of cook this low and slow. It's going to cook for about half the amount of time that you need. And then we'll put the dried mushrooms into that pot.
We have it on medium heat, and we're going to bring that up to a simmer, right? And then we're going to turn it down to low heat once it's at a simmer, okay? So you want to make sure you leave the broth uncovered. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to start making our pasta dough. Basically, we're going to make this dough directly on the countertop. So first things first, what I'm going to do is open up that little deli with the 00 flour and the semolina, and we're going to put all of it into this medium mixing bowl, okay? And then we're just going to grab our fork over here and mix it all up together. So we like to put a little semolina in here too, because semolina totally changes the texture of the dough, right? So it gives it a little more chewiness. And so real quick, I'm going to show you guys this broth. So you see how it's boiling over there? Coming up to a simmer. I'm going to turn that all the way down to low heat. So we have our large pot with water on it on low. We have our broth with our brodo on low heat, okay? And we're just going to be steeping all those flavors into it. Back to making my pasta, right? So my medium mixing bowl, I have my semolina and my 00 flour in that bowl. What we want to do is take a 1/4 cup measure, all right? From here on out, I'm going to refer to this as bench flour, okay? So I have my bench flour. Put that bench flour off to the side, okay? We're not going to use it until we start rolling out our dough. So I'm going to take all the rest of the flour that was in there, okay? Lay it out onto my countertop. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go in, we're going to go right in the middle, and we're just going to make a little hole right in the center of this flour. And that's going to be called our well. And so basically in that well is where we're going to put all of our eggs for making this pasta dough. And then inside this little deli that I have right here is my whole egg, right? I have my egg yolks. I have my olive oil. And so the center of that well should be able to basically fit that deli. Okay, can you guys see that? And I'm just going to pour all of my eggs into the center of that, okay?
Nice.
So now that we have that in there, what we're going to do is we're going to take our index finger, okay? And this is now going to be our dough hook. And what I'm going to do to explain it before I start doing it is I'm just going to go around the edge And basically, I'm going to slowly bring the flour from the edge into the eggs until the eggs have enough flour in them that they're not so liquid.
Nice.
We want to make sure that the walls of this well, so to speak, they don't break. If they do break, don't worry. It's not the end of the world.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, all we're trying to do is mix all of this flour into all of these eggs. All right? So again, I'm going to come over here with my finger, right, directly onto the edge, and then I'm going to come around the edge of the flour. And you see how I'm not breaking through that wall, okay? And you see you're kind of pushing the walls of that flour out as you go. And then what you do, if you have a little flour in the middle, you just mix your finger in there just to get that flour incorporated into the eggs in the center, all right? And as you keep going around the edge, you know, you keep pulling that flour into that egg. So now at this point, as I keep stirring in this flour with my finger, the egg is getting a little thicker, right? And I'm getting to the point where, you know, it's not really gonna move through the edges. You're gonna get to a stage in this, right, where basically you form this kind of like wet dough, okay? As you guys can see over here, that's where my dough is at, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where I have a lot of this flour incorporated in with this egg. So basically what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna bring in the flour from the edges, and I'm just gonna start folding and pressing the flour into the dough. And you guys will see this egg will start to absorb all of this flour over here, right? And it's gonna form this kind of wet dough. So what you wanna do is if you have a little bit of pasta dough left on your hands, right? You basically just wanna rub your hands together and get kind of those pieces off. Wanna come in here, we want to press all this that's on my cutting board or on my countertop into my dough, okay? So sometimes because it's sticking a little bit, you just come in with a knife, right? Scrape everything up, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Basically, you want to fold it all into that dough. What we're kind of doing over here is we're forming like a shaggy dough. This is what my dough looks like, right? Next, what I want to do is we're going to start kneading the dough. And so with pasta dough, it's very important that you knead that dough, right? And you develop the gluten in that dough because it's the only way you're going to be able to roll it out thin enough. So what I'm going to do over here, basically we're going to fold this dough in half, right? And then I'm going to take the heel of my hand and I'm going to push the dough forward. You see how it rolls like that?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then I'm going to take the dough and turn it, fold it in half, and repeat that process. Okay?
Nice.
And it's very important that you're not just pressing straight down on the dough, right? If you're pressing straight down on the dough, you are not kneading the dough, right? You need to press down and move forward, okay? And so when you do that, do you feel how it rolls under your hand? And so what that does is it forms the gluten in that dough. So what you want to do if your dough is dry, just take your hands, run them under the faucet real quick. They'll put like a very small amount of water on your hands and then knead the dough like that, okay? And so if your dough is a little bit sticky, right, just add a little bit of that bench flour to it. You only want to add more flour if your dough is physically sticking to the countertop. And what's going to happen is we're going to yield this really nice, like, silky dough. And so you guys should see your dough transforms from that kind of shaggy dough, right, to this like almost like Play-Doh texture, okay? You look at this dough over here, you see that? And then when I press into it with my finger, you see how it jumps back at me? That shows that the correct amount of gluten has been formed, right? At this point, I got my dough, right, all made up. After we've got it kneaded, all we're gonna do is we're just gonna pop this dough and wrap it in a little plastic wrap or a plastic bag, and then just set it off to the side. So it's important whenever you're working with pasta dough, you have to keep that dough covered. Otherwise, it's gonna dry out, okay? We have made this beautiful pasta dough. And so what we gotta do is let the dough rest just a little bit. And you just need to give it a second, just like your muscles. You gotta let the muscles relax and then we can roll it out, right? Because if you try to roll it immediately, it'll kind of spring back a little too much. We have our dough, right? It has been rested. And so what we're going to do next is we're going to start rolling the pasta dough. In order to do that, what I need to do is we need to dust our surfaces, okay? Dust that board, right? And then what we're all going to do is we're going to dust our hands, okay? And to make sure they're properly dusted, we're going to give ourselves the dust clap, okay? So you got to give it the clap. Oh, and you should see that flour cloud, that dust cloud, right? I'm going to put my pasta on it, and then I'm just going to add just a little more flour on top. And so now that we have the surfaces dusted, from now on, we are only going to add flour if the pasta seems like it's sticking. What I'm going to do is I'm going to lay this pasta dough down, right? And then with the heel of my hand, I'm just going to press it down, okay? After I've spread it out with my hand, I'm going to take my rolling pin, right? And we're just going to roll it vertically at first.
Yep.
I'm going to roll it vertically, then I'm going to turn it 90 degrees, and then we'll keep rolling it. So we want to roll this pasta dough, right, until it's super, super thin, okay? And if it's ever sticking, we're just going to add a little flour, okay? You definitely got to put some weight behind it. You want to roll out this dough until it's so thin you can read through it. It's going to take up a lot of space, so that's why I was telling you, if you have a cutting board, just get rid of it. Roll it out that little bit more. And again, you'll see once it gets really, really thin, the gluten doesn't fight you so much. And then just to kind of show you guys, so mine is rolled out as thin as it needs to be right now. Now we can read what's going on. See?
Mm-hmm. Truffle tortellini.
And kind of the reason why it has to be that thin is because with stuffed pasta, you got to imagine you're going to take some of that pasta, fold it on itself, right? And two pieces of pasta are going to become one. So what I'm going to do next, right, is I'm going to take my little melon Bellini mixer container. I'm just going to dust the edges in flour, okay? And then I'm going to start cutting circles in the dough. But what you want to do is press down and just move the cutter back and forth, okay? See how it's cutting that little, that beautiful little round? And we're cutting out all these rounds. What you want to do is you want to go through, you want to cut all the tortellinis, right? All the little circles. And so Jay's going to grab one side, I'm going to grab the other. And we're just going to pull up this excess dough, right? That way all we have is those little rounds. Make sure you hold on to this pasta dough because you can roll that out again and use that again. So what we want to do is we want to line up, right, all those little circles of that beautiful pasta dough. We're going to grab our napkin, okay? And we're just going to wet it, right? You just want to get a little moist. You want to wring it out, okay? And you see this? So I have my damp towel. And I'm just going to lay that damp towel on top of all these pasta rounds. So now I'm going to go ahead, just clean up my workspace just a little bit. Just get that flour out of here. I have all of my tortellinis cut, right? I got my large pot of water. It is coming up to the boil, okay? Nice. We have our beautiful brodo on the stove over here on low heat, right? Just infusing that flavor. And so what we're going to do next is we're going to start forming these tortellinis, all right? Make sure we get our little tray, okay? And you want to just get a little flour on that tray. That way the pasta just doesn't stick to it as we're doing it, okay? We have our ricotta farce, okay? We need our egg wash. We have our little tray. And then we have our tortellini all cut out. Again, we got our ricotta farce right here, which that ricotta farce, again, is ricotta, egg, a little bit of thyme, Balinese truffle salt, and black pepper. I'm going to show everyone how to make a tortellini from start to finish. If you guys would just want to watch how I do it, okay? So basically, I have my little round. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit of that ricotta farce in the center. And it's very important that you do not, I repeat, do not add too much. Okay, so you want a very small amount. You see how much I have right here? And so next, we're going to put our egg wash on here. Which our egg wash, I'm just going to do with my finger. You can do it with a pastry brush. But again, I'm just going to put a very, very thin layer in a semicircle around this pasta round, okay? Next, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna fold that dough over, okay? And I'm gonna form my little empanada. And when I do that, I'm gonna press the dough together, okay? And what is very important is that there's a barrier, right, between the stuffing and the edge. If there isn't enough room, if there isn't enough of a barrier, the stuffing is gonna pop out of the edge, okay? So can you guys see that? So what I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna press in the middle of that empanada, okay? You see that little indent? And then I'm just gonna take the two ends and I'm gonna pull them together, okay? And then I'm gonna form my fortune cookie. So after I form that fortune cookie, then I'm just gonna take those two ends and I'm gonna fold them on top of one another, right? And press together, okay? And that is my beautiful little tortellini.
Oh my God.
You see that?
We're gonna go through that process one more time here, and we'll go up close on Tyler's hands.
And so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna put a little bit of that ricotta into the middle of that round of pasta, okay? Not too much, very important, not too much. I'm gonna dip my finger in that egg and I'm just gonna brush the edge, right? In a semicircle, not all the way around, okay? On that pasta dough. So next what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna fold that pasta over and connect the two sides together, right? Exactly like we would form a little empanada. I got my filling right here. I got my edge of my dough right there. And then what we want to do is just press that edge together. So you see that? How I have the differentiation between the edge and the filling. I'm going to just push the middle of that. I just push that middle in, right? You see that? And then just fold those two sides down. So you see it already forming that shape, right? And then after that, I just fold one side of the dough over the other, okay? And then I press them together with my hand. That is my tortellini. So once the pasta is formed, you can put it onto the tray, and it's okay if it dries out a little bit once the pasta is formed. Next, what we're gonna do is we wanna just strain this brodo, right? So all we're gonna do is you wanna grab another pot or a bowl or something like that, right? And we're just gonna take this brodo, okay? Strain it out. And then after that, we're gonna open up our truffle salt. And we just wanna season up this brodo with a little bit of truffle salt, all right?
Oh.
And then we're just gonna keep it hot over here. Just keep it nice and warm.
And now we're gonna go into blanching these tortellinis. And so the tortellinis take about 3 minutes, right?
Yeah, it's about 3 to 4 minutes. Again, depending on the thickness, because all of our thicknesses are just a hair different. And so what we want to do is we have this pot of water boiling, okay? And we're going to lightly season it with just a little bit of salt, not truffle salt, but just kosher salt or table salt, whatever you have. And then we're going to add all of these tortellinis, okay?
Yep. And so we're going to get a timer on the screen there.
So you're going to timer on the screen, 3 minutes, all right?
Nice.
All right, so that is our timer over there. So all we're gonna do with this is we're just gonna transfer these tortellini in directly into our bowl, okay? So I like to do about 7 or 8 per bowl.
And I'm gonna come right behind Tyler with the brodo. So I'm putting 1 2-ounce ladle of brodo in there. We might go back and give it a little bit more. So we got the brodo down, and then I'm coming back with a couple of these slivers of truffle. I'm going to use either a peeler or this truffle shaver to get some stunning peels of Parmesan right over these tortellinis.
Yeah, very last but not least, we're going to hit this with a little sprinkle, right, up high. We got to hit that truffle salé.
All right.
Stunning.
I'm going to hold this one up to the camera so you guys can see it.
Look at that brodo. So we're going to go in here and get a taste.